It was the scream heard round the world, a sound so raw, so primitive, that it didn't just break the internet. It shattered our collective understanding of what a 13-year-old girl was capable of achieving under the bright lights of Hollywood. In the sweltering summer of 2018, the America's Got Talent stage witnessed a moment that felt less like a standard television performance and more like a supernatural occurrence. We all saw the footage. Courtney Hadwin, a lanky, painfully shy teenager from Hesleden, England, walked out looking as though she wanted the stage to swallow her whole. Her social anxiety was palpable, her voice barely a whisper as she spoke to the judges. But the second the track for Hard to Handle kicked in, the introverted schoolgirl vanished into thin air. In her place was a whirlwind of vintage rock energy, channeling the spirits of Janis Joplin and James Brown with a ferocity that left the celebrity panel paralyzed in their seats. Howie Mandel didn't just give her a standing ovation. He triggered the golden buzzer, catapulting her into a stratosphere of fame that few seasoned professionals could navigate, let alone a child. The video racked up over 300 million views almost instantly, turning her into a global household name overnight. However, as the digital ticker climbed, the shadows began to gather behind the scenes. While the general public was busy hitting the replay button, industry insiders and cynical skeptics were already whispering about the manufactured nature of her sudden rise. The world fell in love with the ultimate underdog story, but in the dark corners of the web, a different narrative was being meticulously crafted, one that claimed Courtney wasn't the naive amateur she appeared to be. This was the exact moment the dream started to bleed into a reality that would eventually lead her to a terrifying breaking point. Reporters began digging into her history, looking for the cracks in the Golden Girl's armor, and what they found would spark the first of many massive controversies that nearly ended her career before it truly began. The transition from beloved prodigy to a target of scrutiny happened in a heartbeat, setting the stage for a psychological battle that no one saw coming. Every hero needs a villain, but in Courtney's story, the villain wasn't a rival singer. It was her own resume, which critics claimed was the smoking gun of a massive, calculated deception. As the viral dust from her audition began to settle, a shocking revelation surfaced that threatened to completely derail the Hadwin hype train. Investigative fans and amateur sleuths discovered that Courtney had previously been a top finalist on The Voice Kids UK. Suddenly, the shy girl who'd never found her voice narrative was being ruthlessly picked apart by a cynical, online public. The accusations came thick and fast. She was labeled an industry plant, a calculated fraud, and a trained professional who was merely pretending to be an awkward amateur to manipulate sympathy votes. This wasn't just harmless internet chatter. It was a full-scale character assassination directed at a 14-year-old girl who was already battling crippling social anxiety. The vitriol was relentless and deeply personal. People felt cheated by the edit the show had given her, completely ignoring the fact that a child can be both immensely talented and genuinely terrified of a crowd at the same time. For Courtney, this was the first bitter taste of the industry's double-edged sword. She wasn't just fighting for a Las Vegas residency anymore. She was fighting for her fundamental reputation. The pressure was suffocating, and the liar label began to take a severe toll on her mental health. She found herself at the center of a storm where her every movement, blink, and stutter was scrutinized for signs of rehearsed behavior. But while the public was busy debating her authenticity, Courtney was facing a much more dangerous reality behind the scenes, a legal and creative struggle that would see her lose her identity to the very people who promised to make her a global superstar. The plant controversy was just the beginning of a descent into a corporate machine that prioritized marketable images over the well-being of the human being behind the microphone. It was a baptism by fire that left her questioning if the fame was worth the cost of her integrity. Behind the reinforced doors of major record labels, a star isn't born, they are meticulously built. And for Courtney, That construction process felt more like a life sentence in a gilded cage. Following the high-octane finale of her season, Courtney was funneled directly into the Simon Cowell machine, signing a massive, multi-album deal with Sicko and Arista. On paper, this was the ultimate prize, the victory everyone expected. In reality, it became a slow-motion car crash of creative differences and corporate control. The label didn't actually want the raw, soul-shouting rock star that the world had initially fallen in love with. They wanted a polished, radio-friendly pop princess they could sell to the masses. Investigative reports surfaced indicating she was being pushed into grueling writing sessions with high-profile pop producers who tried to mold her into a British version of Ariana Grande. The soul was being systematically scrubbed out of her sound in favor of synthesized beats, generic lyrics, and a sanitized image. This period marks the darkest and most concerning chapter in her career timeline. It was during these high-pressure years that rumors began to circulate about her mental state reaching a critical, dangerous breaking point. It's been whispered in industry circles that the stress became so unbearable, Courtney reportedly considered taking drastic measures against her own voice, the very instrument that had brought her both fame and immense misery. We are talking about a young girl who felt so trapped by her own success that she allegedly contemplated using scissors to ensure she would never have to sing for a label executive ever again. The pressure to conform was effectively offing her passion for the art form. When the label eventually folded and her contract was left in limbo, many saw it as a public failure. But for Courtney, it might have been the only thing that actually saved her life. The collapse of her corporate safety net was the catalyst for a transformation no one saw coming, leading to a long, silent period that left the world wondering if the rock prodigy had disappeared forever into the annals of one-hit wonder history. You cannot keep a ghost in a cage forever, and in 2026, Courtney Hadwin didn't just return to the spotlight. She returned to haunt the very industry that tried to bury her under the weight of pop expectations. After several years of total silence and off-the-grid living, Courtney Hadwin has officially re-emerged in 2026, not as a label-backed product, but as a self-made rock icon with a point to prove. She has systematically erased the child star image, replacing the trembling girl from 2018 with a powerful woman who commands the stage with the authority of a seasoned veteran. Her new project, Miss Jagged, serves as a direct middle finger to the pop-obsessed executives who tried to silence her natural grit and raw power. The rumors of her retirement were greatly, perhaps even intentionally, exaggerated. She wasn't quitting the industry, she was reloading her creative arsenal. Today, she is touring the globe on her own terms, sharing stages with rock royalty like Steven Van Zandt, and proving to the world that her voice wasn't a fluke of a reality show edit or a clever marketing trick. But the road back to the top wasn't paved with gold. She had to navigate legal hurdles and complex contractual entanglements that would have broken most artists twice her age. We've seen her transition from a viral curiosity to a legitimate cultural force, one who manages her own image, directs her own videos, and writes her own rules. She has become the poster child for the independent revolution in music, showing other young performers that you don't need a golden buzzer or a billionaire's approval to stay relevant. You just need the courage to walk away when the price of fame becomes too high to pay. As she stands on stage now, that supernatural energy is back, but it's tempered with a hard-won, cynical wisdom. The girl who once allegedly held scissors to her throat is now holding a microphone with a grip that absolutely will not be broken. It leaves us with one final, haunting question. Did the industry almost destroy a future legend? Or did the fire they put her through only serve to make her voice completely indestructible?